properly, and if they can, other groups may get out in the coming weeks. Rosemary?
딱 운동하려고 하니까 전화가 오네요. 운동하겠습니다. 지금 5시인가? 네, 5시 조금 넘었어요. 허리가 살짝 아파요, 살짝. 그래서 스쿼트를 해야 되는데, 원래 월화수 스쿼트 하는 날이죠. 스쿼트를 해야 되는데, 간단하게 무게 없이 스트레칭 좀만 하고 무게 없이 스쿼트를 10개씩 4세트만 하고 그만할게요. 힘들어요. 피곤해. 오늘 첫날이어서 졸립니다. 그리고 오늘 일이 너무 힘들었어요. 하루 종일 서가지고 계속 아무튼 그랬습니다. 일했습니다. 일단 스트레칭 하면서 몸을 좀 풀게요.
There are new fears of a second surge. So let's cross over to Singapore now to get more on what's going on from journalist Manisha Tank. Good to see you, Manisha. So, of course, Singapore had been hailed as the great success story in fighting the coronavirus. Why is it now seeing this spike in cases? What's behind that, and how's Singapore dealing with it?
Yeah, Rosemary, well, good to talk to you too. And it is quite, as you say, we were hailed as the great success story. That was back in early March when we saw increases in new cases at absolute zero. But here we are, 230 cases up, 33 cases up, and last week a record jump of 287 cases. How did we get here? That's your question. Well, when the coronavirus situation was exploding in the United Kingdom and in the United States, a lot of long-term pass holders and Singaporean citizens decided to come home because there was this feeling, of course, that this was a much safer place to be. They were being recalled as well by the government, especially students, for example, a huge population of which are based in the UK. They were urged by the government, all those that were on foreign placements, to come back to the country, and they did. What did they do? They brought coronavirus back with them. Many of those who had, though, impacted on the situation from the Ministry of Health because they sent out on the 24th of March saying anyone coming back from the UK and the US would have to go into a specific quarantine.
인구가 1,000만이 안 되는데
tourism has been badly hit
감염자가
by this.
2,000명이
So
넘어가고
actually,
있어요.
luxury hotels have been used for those quarantine measures. But you're asking about this spike in cases, and you sort of said, is there fear of a second wave? Actually, I would say it's not just fear, it is here. We are seeing this evident in these cases now. And this is because those coronavirus cases that came back have now got out into the wider community, and in particular into the migrant worker population. There is a cluster of cases coming from a place called the Mustafa Center. Anyone who has visited Singapore or anyone who has read about coming to Singapore will know that this is a bit of an icon on the map. It is in Little India, a heavily populated zone, but also something very popular with the migrant workers. Many of them come from southern India and Bangladesh. Many of them speak Tamil and Bengali. And it's been pointed out that a lot of the alerts that went out on social distancing initially went out in English, Malay, and Mandarin, and not necessarily in the languages that those guys would understand. And so now we're seeing a bit of a lag in those cases coming through, and the government has warned that we might not see the worst of it for another 2 weeks. Now, it's interesting to contextualize this because as we've seen that spike, we've also seen what we call in here the circuit breaker measures come into effect. It is effectively Singapore's pseudo lockdown. All of the non-essential services, Rosemary, have been shut down. I'm working from home. My children are learning from home. It's pretty much stay-at-home measures here, and the hope is that that will stop this second wave from getting any worse. But for now, we're not seeing that happening just yet.
Right. It is a lesson to the rest of the world because everyone's watching other nations to see how they're dealing with it. And because Singapore had done such a great job in the start, this is a warning to all of us that you can't be complacent. You can't let your guard down. You have to be very careful. This is incredibly contagious. Manisha Tank, thank you so much for bringing us up to date on the situation in Singapore. Appreciate it. And you are watching CNN Newsroom. Still to come, what is it like to have the virus and come out the other side? Well, I speak with one man who did just that to find out what he learned.
Coronavirus is affecting an entire country, the world. Are we ready? In the beginning of outbreaks like this, nobody knows what's happening. We're determined to keep reporting the story.
That's not worried, because that seems to be what worries me now, because we're ready for it.
these are the moments where our humanity really does shine through. That's the hardest part.
It's heart-wrenching.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CNN.
I'm relaxed on board the spaceship for two different reasons. One is I work really hard to understand the danger that's around me, so I don't just have to be afraid of some big nebulous thing. And the other is that I have a really full sense of purpose, of things to do. And I think both of those apply to everybody around the world. Understand the risk, so you're not just afraid, but you actually know what the danger is. And then start breaking up your day. You know, everybody's all disrupted when you're trying to isolate. So start breaking up your day into chunks. Give yourself tasks. Make up a wish list. Give yourself a task list, a to-do list. Do the things you have to do. Do the things that are just for you. But start giving every day a real sense of purpose. And it suddenly stops from being sort of a cloistered, fearful isolation to just being life in a different set of circumstances.
For businesses around the globe, the future may not be certain and may not be bright. But as the world comes to grips with the grim new realities of the coronavirus pandemic, some companies are turning their focus from profit to civic duty in the battle against COVID-19. Airbnb has teamed up with the Red Cross and other organizations to provide free or subsidized housing to 100,000 healthcare workers and first responders across the planet. In New York, rental company Hertz has pledged free vehicle rental to all healthcare workers for the month of April. And Starbucks has chipped in too, offering free coffee to all first responders and frontline workers pulling together in the fight against the virus. For more stories about the people making a difference and to find out how you can impact your world, go to cnn.com/impact.
I'm Julia Chatterley, host of CNN's newest business show, First Move. I'll speak to newsmakers, risk takers, and the ultimate game changers. Make CNN your first move.
First Move with Julia Chatterley tonight.
Hey, I'm Anderson Cooper. Welcome to Full Circle, a show created exclusively for CNN's digital audience. There's a ton of news that happens every day outside of Washington. I'll take you there. We're live in Asbury Park in Parkland, Florida, Kiev in Ukraine. And you can take me wherever you go. It's news with no limits. Whoa. That was a rather large explosion. This isn't TV. This is Full Circle. Live weeknights at 5 p.m. Eastern or anytime after that at cnn.com/Full Circle.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, we have been talking a lot about the huge number of people infected with the coronavirus, but it is important to remember that hundreds of thousands of people have recovered. Even then, many still have doubts. Is it a total recovery? Are they immune? Lots of questions. CNN's Brian Todd has some answers.
It hurts like hell.
Sharika Williams' horrible ordeal is just about over. The nurse who cares for the elderly at a nursing home in Tennessee says when she was in the deepest throes of coronavirus, she had to fight off thoughts of planning her own funeral.
You can barely eat. You can barely walk. You can't breathe because it hurts so bad.
With tens of thousands of Americans being diagnosed with coronavirus daily and hundreds each day dying, there's also a growing number of people recovering from COVID-19. And what they're going through can serve as a guide to millions. How do you know when you're coming out of it?
The most important things to look for are improvements in your breathing.
Dr. Michael Mina from Harvard also says if you're coming out of the virus, your dry coughs might start to lift, your fevers might come down. But he warns you might also have false signals of recovery. Don't be fooled by one good day.
To really be sure that you're really kicking this
마지막
virus
하남 한
and
번만
putting
더
it behind
하고
you it usually takes multiple
끝내겠습니다.
days, 3 or 4 or 5 days of continuously feeling better and better.
지금
improving your
뉴욕에
energy,
있는
improving your breathing.
병원에서 이제
Then there's
그런
what
영상이
one recovering
나오는데
patient calls the Rip Van Winkle effect.
한 간호사가
David
다른
Lack spent
간호사에게
17 days in the hospital
그
and was on a
장비를
ventilator
채워주고
for 6
있는데
days without even knowing it.
그 채워주는 간호사분은 마스크를 안 쓰고 있어. 병원
I kind of
안에서.
just went back to what I was talking and thinking about right before I went on the ventilator, even though it had been a week ago. I had asked my husband to bring some
이 부분
books
쉽게
to
끝난
the
것 같지
hospital.
않습니다.
So I asked him, "Oh, did you bring those books?" It didn't really dawn on me yet.
Experts say amnesia or delirium in recovering coronavirus patients usually goes away, but caregivers have to watch out for long-term effects in those who've had acute cases of the virus.
The inflammatory response to the body can sometimes really do sometimes permanent damage to people, whether that's damage to your lungs from the virus and the immune system's response to that virus, or whether to brain tissue. All sorts of things can go wrong when you're in the intensive care unit.
Patients can also come out the other side stronger with antibodies, your immune system's memory of the virus that could help fight it off again. Survivor Diana Barrett is donating her plasma so others can benefit from her antibodies.
I like to think of it as a superhero. Me and all of the other survivors, we have